Of D's Notes. Here we go. We got the Knicks and Celtics beginning a playoff series tonight, and to say that the regular season series was lopsided would not be giving it all its due. The Celtics won all 4 games, and they won by an average of 16 points a game. They averaged 21 threes in the 4-game season sweep. So we're looking for reasons to think that the Knicks can make this into a series. Can you give us one, Jay Williams?
I'll say this. Look, this series isn't about Jalen Brunson. It's not about Karl-Anthony Towns. It's not about Mikal Bridges. It's about Tibbs. And it's about if Tibbs can actually change from his old school rigidity to modern flexibility. And if he can't, then maybe he's not the right guy for the job moving forward. And I talk about the way you defend, right? The traditional things that typically when you get back in transition, you protect the rim. You can't do that against Boston. They're making 21 threes on 43% shooting. You get the flare out to the three-point line, right? When you go over a screen, blitz it, you got to rotate out to the outside. You give up 2s and you don't get beat by 3s. You can't beat Boston by grinding. You have to beat Boston by evolving. And I want to see if Tibbs, if his strategy can be evolved. Everybody has the Boston Celtics winning. We think they're a better team. But this strategy is going to be so imperative, and the execution of the strategy will determine if the Knicks have a legitimate chance to stay in it.
Shanae, what do you think?
It's not just about Tibbs, it's also about Josh Hart. Because if we're going to talk about strategies that can help benefit the Knicks, Josh Hart has to knock down threes. Over the course of the regular season, he shot 33% from 3. So what have the Celtics done? They've let him shoot. They typically guard him with the center. It's Porzingis, it's Cornette, or it's Horford that are guarding Josh Hart because they can really muck things up sagging off of him. So it's going to be interesting to see if Josh Hart brings his shot, which, by the way, he's 7 for 14, 50% shooting from 3. If he carries that through, the Knicks will be more competitive.
Windman, you are, well, depending on the weather, either taking a train or a plane up to Boston today.
LaGuardia's closed.
Look, okay.
Big news came in yesterday by the Celtics and nobody noticed it. They released their injury report and it was empty. No Drew Holiday with the hamstring, no Jason Tatum with the wrist, no Jaylen Brown with the knee. They're rested, they're healthy. They're 20-4 in the playoffs over the last 2 seasons. No one's gotten them to Game 6. Forget about taking them to Game 7. No one's gotten them to Game 6. I could ask Hembo when the last time a coach got the Knicks to the second round in back-to-back years, but I know it. It's 30 years ago, Pat Riley. I see all these people here in New York complaining about Tibbs. I realize it's not perfect. I realize the Knicks are not perfect. They are no business being in this series. Jason Tatum averaged 34 points a game against them. If they get this series to 6, you should have a virtual ticker tape parade. I am just saying they are not equipped. Assuming Boston stays healthy, they are not equipped to compete in this series. They take a game, they play these games into the fourth quarters, they will have done well. I'm just being honest.
Can I draw your attention, if I may, to a game that was played on April 8th? Now, I understand that by that time, this was the very end of the regular season. The Celtics, well, candidly, the Celtics and the Knicks were sort of locked into their playoff positioning. We talk about the 16-point average margin of victory. A lot of that was skewed by a major blowout at the beginning, and the Knicks really were not healthy in almost any of their matchups. I'm just trying to make a little bit of an argument here. In a game in which Jason Tatum played 48 minutes, Porzingis played 39, Holiday played, Derek White played, Jaylen Brown only played 22 minutes. But the Celtics beat the Knicks by 2 points, 119-117, in a very close game at the end. Is there any way that I could make an argument that maybe that game will be a little more indicative of how competitive we might expect this series to be?
Yes, and I agree. They will not be a 16-point differential in these games. But yes, the Celtics are the heavy favorites here. And if they get it to 6, they will have done a great job.
Do we have the picks up? I think we have pick bars up here, right? Can we see what? Go ahead, Jay Will.
They still gave up an average of 120 points in all 4 of their games.
Right.
Like that's a significant issue. I hear what people are talking about, obviously scoring. Yes, you need to do that. But defensively is what the real challenge is with the versatility that Boston provides.
Look, the way you beat this is really, I hate to say it this way. There's only 2 ways the Celtics lose. One is that they get hurt, which I don't want to speak into existence, but obviously there's a history of injury-prone particularly regarding Porzingis. And the second is you got to hope they're cold a bunch of nights, right? They're going to get looks. They're going to get looks from three.
Yes, and they will be cold.
Right.
And I think, honestly, the Knicks' game plan is get the game to the fourth quarter.
Right.
Because you have Brunson, and one of the ways you do that, they traded for Karl Towns to take advantage or at least have a matchup for Porzingis.
Right.
If Porzingis had a very poor first-round series, but by his standards, he didn't play well. If Towns trounces Porzingis, that can close down the gap, but you know it's not going to be. They have Al Horford. They have different things they can do. They could put a smaller player on Karl Towns, but you need Towns to dominate if you're the Knicks, in addition to Brunson being great in the fourth quarter.
Okay, so our second D's note involves Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. Now, we are assuming that when the voting is announced, those two guys are going to finish 1-2 in MVP in that way. If so, we will see for the 7th time, this will be the 8th time that the top two finishers for MVP have met in a postseason series. The last time it happened was in 2017. James Harden was runner-up for MVP, and he beat the MVP winner, Russell Westbrook. Harden and the Rockets won it in 5. Westbrook averaged a 37-point triple-double, but it wasn't enough. Harden got the win there. Before that, James Harden was involved again. He was the runner-up to Steph in the MVP voting in 2015. The Warriors won that series in 5. Steph averaged 31. Harden averaged 28. Warriors would go on to win the championship. Before that, we'd go back to 2012. It was LeBron and KD. LeBron won the MVP. KD finished second. They met in the finals. LeBron and the Heat won in 5. LeBron was the MVP of the finals. It was his first NBA championship. There are 4 other instances in the last 35 years of the number 1 and number 2 finishers for MVP meeting in a playoff series, and Michael Jordan was involved in all 4 of them. The most recent was in '98. He was the league MVP. He beat the runner-up Karl Malone and the Jazz in the finals. They had actually met in the finals the year before when Malone was the MVP and Jordan's team won as well. Either way, the point we make here is that history tells us the guy who wins the MVP wins this series. 5 of the previous 7 times the MVP has finished the player who finishes second. So history says, Brian Windhorst, that SGA, assuming he wins this thing, and I think we all expect him to, has history on his side against the Joker.
What I saw in all of those was that the better team won all of them. Now, maybe the MVP hasn't always been on the better team, but in all of those series, and anybody wants to dispute me, maybe that's true, but it just from the first sight, that's what I thought. And in this series, Oklahoma City is the better team. Now, Jokic he's a great equalizer, and he's remarkable. And if you're a Nuggets fan, what you believe in is how well your role players just played to get you out of that Clippers series. Westbrook was great. Christian Brown was great. I don't know if you call Aaron Gordon a role player, but he was awesome. That supplemented Jokic. Your role players play like that, you believe, but the Thunder have the better team. The Thunder have the rest advantage. The Thunder have home court.
Shanae, how about SGA here? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be the MVP of the league. He has been brilliant. I have said on the air that I sort of regret not having voted for him last year when I think I should have, one way or the other. What is at stake for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander looking to get out of the second round against Jokic and Murray?
This matchup is the immovable object of Nikola Jokic versus the unstoppable force that truly is the Thunder, led by the MVP in SGA. And a lot of people look at the first round versus the Grizzlies and say, he didn't play his best, or maybe this is not the MVP that we have seen just yet. He still averaged 27.8. This man is a walking 30-piece, and going head-to-head, because these guys do damage in different ways, they both use the dribble. Jokic uses the dribble to pass, to score himself, but SGA uses the dribble to straight up dominate. He'll get the ball, he'll attack, and players, even Anthony Edwards said that man is a bad man when he has the ball in his hands. So overall, I think that SGA has an opportunity to cement the last 2 seasons. It's not just this season where they finished best in the West. It's last year too. And finally, he's got the requisite help. They made improvements. They got Hartenstein. Now you have Chet. You have the centers that are supposed to get you over the hump. This is a great opportunity for SGA to, add or move, progress those narratives forward.
Very quickly, as we put our picks up on the screen here, can I take a moment to scold Jay Williams, who decided when we asked him for a pick to call it a toss-up. I can't think of something less. What is that even an option? Did we give him that choice?
So
no, but Windy doesn't make picks because you're a reporter. You cover these games. You're obligated not to make these picks. I am fully bought in.
Is there any Duke guys on this team? I don't know.
I know, Casey. I can't. Jay will somehow. I said, hey, who's going to win this series? And Jay said, I can't decide. And we decided that was okay for the topic bar. We need a meeting. Artie, I insist they have a meeting